Prohibited locations and curses, oh my. Welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. Here are the top 10 prohibited locations that hold real curses. Real curses. You don't want any smoke on this one. Kicking off the list at number 10, Nauru. It's safe to say that the last few years have been a little rocky. Yeah, our plans had to shift a bit, to say the least. Nauru, however, is a tiny island located in the southwestern Pacific. It didn't have to shut down during the pandemic. It didn't really see much change. It's the world's smallest island nation, and it was originally called Pleasant Island back in 1798 when Westerner John Fern first discovered it. Pleasant Island, yeah, it started out pretty pleasant, like most islands do. And then when humans got involved, it went to The island's natural resource at the time was phosphate, but overmining made the tiny island pretty much useless now. There isn't even a port, yet this island had a railway. Just a tiny island with barely anybody there and a running train. As far as cursed locations go, this one's on my travel list. If only they would just allow visitors. Maybe one day. Number 9, Bhangarh Fort. Back in the 16th century, King Madho built this massive Bhangarh Fort in India. The population of the small town was around 1,000 folks at the time. It was a beautiful fort. Many considered this a luxury. Rightfully so. I mean, it looks like a set piece from Game of Thrones. This is beautiful. The legend has it that Princess Ratnavati, who at the time was living in the luxurious fort, she was the talk of the town. Dudes were proposing left, right, and center. Princes of all over the world would come in and try and take her hand. But she was like, maybe, no. I don't know. And then one day when visiting town, a magician named Scindia saw the princess shopping for perfumes. So he asked her out, she said no, and he was like, okay, what's step 2 here? What's plan B? So he then used black magic of Vashikaran on the princess. Yeah, he mixed it with the perfume she was admiring, but it didn't work. Luckily, she caught on, she smashed the perfume, and as the bottle broke apart, the magician cursed the entire fort and those living inside of it. And then, only a few days later, an entire war erupted around the fort, and there were tons of casualties. Yeah, let's avoid this area forever, shall we? Cool, great, moving on. Number 8. Kalaupapa. Heading over to the beautiful Hawaii for this one. Always wanted to go. Thing is, islands in the middle of nowhere freak me out. And also, haunted villages, they freak me out as well, just a little bit, we don't like those. Once referred to as the most cursed place on Earth, the coast of Molokai sounds like a great time. And from Google Earth, it certainly looks like a fair weekend getaway. But for over 100 years, this was an isolation coast for patients with leprosy. Yeah, not an ideal paradise. Nothing like paradise there, not at all. Nothing like sandals. We're not gonna build the sandals on this one, I don't think. That of course had to change at some point, and the laws did in 1969. So as of right now, no more than 5 people are allowed to live on this island due to its cursed and horrible history. So you have to get on a waiting list for this one. Number 7, the Whaley House. Located in San Diego and built in 1857. The Whaley House is an example of why you don't build your house on cursed land. Yeah, here's why you don't do it, guys. The site that this family home was built on was also once the location of San Diego's first public gallows. Yeah, what a fun fact that is. Imagine selling a home and being like, oh, did you know, by the way? Yeah, no, I don't want to know, thank you. And apparently right after building this home and then moving in, Thomas Whaley said he could hear the footsteps of Yankee Jim Robinson, who had previously lost his life in the same gallows only 4 years prior. After the family had settled, they had all began to experience a bunch of family tragedies, most of which happened inside this house. Hence the cursed land aspect. As of today, the Whaley House is now a museum, and apparently the family members continue to haunt the site. So sadly and thankfully, you can't live there anymore. They made a museum to make sure nobody ever stays the night. No guards either. They're like, no, just everyone leave at night, that's good. These paranormal occurrences are often accompanied by the smells of cigar smoke and heavy perfume, so that's a sign of demons. Either that, or it's the old couple behind you the entire tour that keeps talking. They're like, what did she say? Grandpa breath in the back of your neck, get out of here. Number 6, the Forbidden City. Yeah, of course we have to mention this beauty. Forbidden City? Kinda hits the mark. Located in Beijing, China, the Forbidden City has quite the reputation. That of a pretty horrible one too. This building used to be the Imperial Palace, but now it's a museum, and of course, like other places on this list, it's littered with tourists whenever it can be. They're like, oh, we can't go here, it's haunted? No problem, let's just all gather at the same time. They can't stop us all. This building has quite the grim history, so the amount of reports that come in, sightings of demon, there was a handful online, honestly. The number of ghostly encounters shot up once the palace opened to the public in 1940s. And in many cases, visitors would report seeing a ghostly woman dressed in, you guessed it, all white. The classic all white ghost look. Like, can't they just wear jeans, like a turtleneck, you know, mix it up a bit? Don't you have a wardrobe up there? More often than not, you can find her ghost wandering the palace at night, weeping. Yeah, those who are brave enough to wander at night say they can hear a woman crying, just from all around. I can't tell if I'm sad or more scared now at this point. bit of both. Number 5, Hoia Forest. Heading over to Romania, some UFO action on this one, believe it or not. Yeah, back in 1968, a unidentified hovering craft was spotted over this forest. Many locals at the time looked at it as a getaway to another dimension, which is a pretty strange thing to say when seeing something in the sky. A lot of folks disappeared, like they just went into the forest, looked at it, and then they were gone. Locals referred to this legendary forest as the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania. Again, not a bad nickname. Perhaps the scariest place I can think of. Yeah, a haunted forest in Transylvania that's kind of like the Bermuda Triangle with Sleepy Hollow trees. I'm all set. I'm good. You lost me at Transylvanian Forest, to be honest with you. Number 4, Anjikuni Village. Heading over to Canada for this one. Anjikuni Village is located in Nunavut. This curse began around in the 1930s. It was a cold winter's night, as most of them are in Canada. The moon was completely full, and Joe LaBelle, a fur trapper at the time, was traveling to the most northern region expecting to meet up with company. Only when he arrived to the village, he found it completely empty, despite every hut being filled with supplies, clothes, pots of food, etc. Just everything. Perhaps one of the most jarring details of this winter excursion was the graves of those who had passed before in the village. Those graves were opened up. All of them. Meaning whoever or whatever came by most likely set into motion a cursed village. Great, thanks. This sounds horrible. People do this in Egypt now. We're like, stop opening these tombs, please. There's pandemics, like clearly there's something afoot. I don't know who or what wanted to open those tombs, but you need to read a book, my friend. Or a map, clearly. Number 3, the Devil's Sinkhole. A sinkhole. Cursed. Why, of course. What else is a sinkhole? Obviously, it's cursed. This one's located in Rock Springs, Texas, and it's 50 feet wide and 400 feet deep. A lot of people claim this is the entrance to the underworld. And it certainly looks the part, doesn't it? The Devil's Sinkhole was first discovered way back in 1876, and it wasn't empty, which is pretty scary considering it's a brand new hole into the earth. Findings of arrowheads, bones, and burnt rocks suggest at one point in time this was probably an ancient burial ground or an ancient palace of sacrifice. Either way, let's go home. Let's back it up. Oh, cool. Chris, if you found a bone in a hole in your backyard, would you just move? Yeah. Exhale, then yeah. Not even like a maybe. Confidently, yes. A place called the Devil's Sinkhole is of course now a tourist attraction. People just sneak in and try and see what's down there, but more so because of the amount of bats inside that will just flock out. Locals will often gather some evenings to observe millions of bats pour out of the sinkhole to, hunt for food. So unless Bruce Wayne is down there, I'm betting on this being the Devil's Doorway. For sure cursed. Let's move on. Number 2, Houska Castle. According to folklore, the Houska Castle, which is located north of Prague in Czech Republic, is built over a bottomless hole that leads directly down to hell. The legend claims that the 13th century King Ottokar II offered a pardon to any prisoner who agreed to be lowered into this pit in order to see what was down there. Sure, I would do it. I'm not gonna lie, I'd probably do it. Woo! The first prisoner who was lowered into the pit, he only lasted 30 seconds before he started screaming. Legend has it, as soon as he was brought back up, his hair had turned white and he had aged 30 years. Yeah, some Avengers Endgame science right there. We need to go back to this pit and figure something out. He was also telling stories of these half-human creatures that flew around in the darkness with scaly wings. Sounds like somebody we know, I think, on this list. I don't know. The castle was built over the hole without things like water sources or any kitchens or anything like that because apparently it wasn't meant to be used by humans, but rather as a place to capture the demons should they rise from this mysterious devil hole. Nice. I'm glad we got some real estate on standby for these guys. Can't leave the demons out of the real estate market. We're good. We're inclusive. Just a bunch of demons. They're like, oh, it's good. It's good spacing. How many bathrooms? Just floating around. 3 bathrooms, I think that's good. That's good for a family. That's good. It's good for 4. And finally, number 1, Raynham Hall. Norfolk, England. I've been to England a couple times now, and I gotta say, one of the most beautiful places that I've ever been to. I would love to live there if I could. Just, not here specifically. Just not around Raynham Hall. We don't like cursed halls. The Lady of Raynham Hall became a popular tale back in 1936 after this photo was published in the papers. Legend has it, it's the ghost of one Dorothy Townshend. She was the sister of Robert Walpole, who was the first prime minister back in 1676. Some history for you. Some reports say the image is a result of a long exposure gone wrong, but it's so long ago, this is the most compelling thing we have really to the paranormal. More than likely, it's long exposure gone wrong, but either way, I wanted to finish off on a cursed place with an actual photo, I like to include real photos for you guys. This is one of, if not the most debated photo of a spirit of all time. The first sighting was Christmas Day, 1835, so make sure you're not in the naughty list if you live around here. He's checking twice, apparently, that big old guy. Those are the top 10 prohibited locations that hold real curses. If you want a part 2, I, Taylor McWaters, shall return to you on Most Amazing Top 10. Comment down below. Have a great weekend. Bye. And as the milk ass lungs, triple lungs. And as the bottle broke, this was once referred to as the most cursed place cursed place on earth. This was once referred to as the most cursed place on earth. This is gonna get me. Apparently right after moving in and building this home, the f is happening in my throat, man. These paranormal it's fucking creepy. What the f is that? It's like a baby rattle? That's great. That's what you want to hear when you're doing a demon list. Nice. These paranormal occurrences are often these paranormal occurrences are apparently up. Heading over to I need some coffee, man. My voice is I was at a Slipknot concert last night, apparently. Was traveling to the most do I have a lisp? I have a lisp. Like one of those ads like, I bet you can't last 30 seconds. He's like, no, I didn't. And that I didn't. We can't say that. Can't say that joke. Sorry.